Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavad-Gita as it is, chapter number 12, entitled Devotional Service, and text number 15. Yasman nod vichyate loko lokan nod vichyate cha ya harshamarsham bayodvegar mukto ya sa cha me priyaha yasman nodvichyate loko lokan nodvichyate chaya harshamarsham bayodvegar mukto ya sa cha me priyaha Yasman nodvichyate loko lokan nodvichyate chaya harshamarsham bayodvegar mukto ya cha samapcha me priyaha. Yasman nodvichyate loko lokan nodvichyate chaya harshamarsham bayodvegar mukto ya sa cha me priyaha. Yasman nodvichyate loko lokan nodvichyate chaya harshamarsham bayodvegar mukto ya sa cha me priyaha.
Yasman nodvichyate loko lokan nodvichyate chaya harshamarsham
bayodvegar mukto ya sa cha me priyaha. Yasman nodvichyate loko lokan nodvichyate chaya harshamarsham bayodvegar mukto ya sa cha me priyaha. (12:16) Word for word. Yasmat, from whom, na, never, udvichyate, are agitated, lokaha, people, lokat, from people, na, never, udvichyate, is disturbed, cha, also, yaha, anyone who, harsha, from happiness, amarsha, distress, bhaya, fear, udvegai, and anxiety, muktaha, freed, yaha, who, saha, anyone, cha, also, may, To me. Priyaha. Very dear. Translation, purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. He by whom no one is put into difficulty and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety, is very dear to me. Please repeat. He by whom no one is put into difficulty and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety, is very dear to me. Purport. A few of a devotee's qualifications are further being described. No one is put into difficulty, anxiety, fearfulness, or dissatisfaction by such a devotee. Since a devotee is kind to everyone, he does not act in such a way as to put others into anxiety. At the same time, if others try to put a devotee into anxiety, he is not disturbed. It is by the grace of the Lord that he is so practiced that he is not disturbed by any outward disturbance. Actually, because a devotee is always engrossed in Krishna consciousness and engaged in devotional service, such material circumstances cannot move him. Generally, a materialistic person becomes very happy when there is something for his sense gratification and his body. But when he sees that others have something for their sense gratification and he hasn't, he is very sorry and envious. When he is expecting some retaliation from an enemy, he is in a state of fear. And when he cannot successfully execute something, he becomes dejected. A devotee who is always transcendental to all these disturbances is very dear to Krishna. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmaritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandayaham Sri Guruho Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahagana Raghunatam Pitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakhan Pitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pricharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gauravaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yasman nodvijate loko Loka nodvijate chaya Harshamarsha bayodvegayara Muktoya sachamay priyaha. He by whom no one is put into difficulty and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety, is very dear to me. So in this purport, there are, I see three main areas that I'd like to cover. Prabhupada begins by talking about a devotee's qualifications. And the first of these qualifications today is that he puts no one into difficulty. The Prabhupada extends that by to explain this also means anxiety, fearfulness, or dissatisfaction. So, Prabhupada says that this is because he is kind to everybody. We're going to look at more on that, on exactly what that means, to not put others into difficulty. And then the next is to not be disturbed by anyone. Which includes being equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety. So Prabhupada in his purport explains this and contrasts it with the materialistic person. How the materialistic person is always sometimes happy, sometimes in fear, sometimes in anxiety, sometimes disturbed. And Prabhupada in the purport gives a simple explanation. Because the devotee is always engrossed in Krishna consciousness and engaged in devotional service, these circumstances don't affect him. And the sentence before that, Prabhupada says it's by the grace of the Lord, and that he is so practiced. So these things come in. The grace of the Lord comes in, and the fact that we are practiced in our devotional service, in our sadhana, and the fact that we're engrossed in Krishna consciousness and in devotional service. So we'll try and look at it a little methodically if we can, but I might not always be methodical. So we look at a devotee's qualifications and how he acquires those qualifications. The first verse I came up with is in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1-19, which is in the description of Bhagavad-Dharma that Prabhupada put in his song. So this verse is towards the end. Chada rajas tamo bhava kama loba dayaschaye chaitayar etayar anavidam stitam sattve prasidati. So this is explaining when a devotee is engaged in devotional service, then gradually the effects of Rajas and Tamo, the effects of the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance, will disappear. And at that point, the devotee becomes situated in goodness. And as he becomes situated in goodness, Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, he becomes situated in goodness. He's always happy. And thus, he develops very good qualities, being in the mode of goodness. Prabhupada explains in the purport that this devotee in the mode of goodness is qualified with the qualities of God. He says the qualities themselves may differ a little bit, but we have good qualities because we're in association with God Himself. Another story which explains also how we get good qualities is in the 5th chapter of the 1st canto, which talks about the story of Narad Muni in his previous life when he was a small boy. So we've heard the story recently, but Narad Muni and his mother happened to host some Mahabhagavatas over the rainy season. So during the rainy season, his mother was serving them, and he was a small boy, only about 5 years old. He was also helping. So he explains in this verse, 1.5.25, how at one time the devotees had left some prasadam, and he asked permission if he could take this prasadam. So he explains that simply by taking this prasadam from the pure devotees, he becomes purified in heart. So Prabhupada explains more in the purport. He says, by taking these remnants from the pure devotee, which also means by associating with the pure devotee, our sins become eradicated. Our heart becomes purified. And Srila Prabhupada also explains that we become attracted by the transcendental qualities. So Prabhupada in his purport he talks about the pure devotion of these pure devotees being like an infectious disease. So simply by associating with the pure devotees, by taking their remnants, like if you take the remnants of a diseased person, he explains, you will get diseased. But you're taking the remnants of the pure devotee, and you get infected with pure devotional service. So the symptoms of this infection is the qualities of purity by associating with the devotees. Another part where the qualities are, how we acquire the qualities are discussed is in the story of Prithu Maharaj. When Lord Vishnu comes to his sacrificial arena, I'll read the translation of this verse because it's very nice. This is Lord Vishnu speaking to Prithu Maharaj. My dear king, I am very captivated by your elevated qualities and excellent behavior, and thus I am very favorably inclined towards you. You may therefore ask any benediction. One who does not possess elevated qualities and behavior cannot possibly achieve my favor simply by performance of sacrifices, severe austerities, or mystic yoga. But I always remain equipoised in the heart of one who is also equipoised in all circumstances. So Prabhupada is explaining in this verse how these qualities are what pleases the Lord, and that nothing else will please Him. But we cannot develop these qualities unless we become a pure devotee. When one develops unalloyed and unflinching devotional service, then he attains the original qualities that belong to the soul. And these qualities are as good as those of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in quality. Not in quantity, of course, but in quality. So now we've got the list of 26 qualities from Chaitanya Charitamrita. There is another list in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam which has got about 28 qualities, and in different places you'll find different lists. So this is 26 qualities. 1. Kind to everyone. 2. Does not quarrel with anyone. 3. Fixed in the absolute truth. 4. Equal to everyone. 5. Faultless. 6. Charitable. 7. Mild. 8. Clean. 9. Simple. 10. Benevolent. 11. Peaceful. 12. Completely attached to Krishna. 13. Has no material hankering. 14. Meek. 15. Steady. 16. Self-controlled. 17. Does not eat more than required. 18. Sane. 19. Respectful. 20. Humble. 21. Grave. 22. Compassionate. 23. Friendly. 24. Poetic. And 25. Expert. 26. Silent. The Lord is satisfied the development of these transcendental qualities, not by any other practices. And another story that I was thinking of in relation to developing good qualities is the story of Dhruva Maharaj when he was a small boy, and he was offended because his stepmother criticized him when he wanted to sit on his father, the king's lap. So Dhruva Maharaj went to his mother, Suniti, and she advised him to go and worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then he decided to do exactly that. So he went to the forest. He was going to the forest because his mother didn't know much, but she told him, I know that the sages go to the forest in order to worship Lord Vishnu. 18. So Suniti said, my dear boy, whatever has been spoken by Saruchi is so. Because his stepmother Saruchi had also said, if you wanted all to sit on the lap of your father, then you must worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because the king, your father, does not consider me his wife, even his maidservant. Therefore, it is a fact that you have taken birth from the womb of an unfortunate woman. My dear boy, what has been spoken by Saruchi, your stepmother, although very harsh to hear, is factual. Therefore, if you desire at all to sit on the same throne as your stepbrother Uttama, then give up your envious attitude immediately and try to execute the instructions of your stepmother. Without further delay, you must engage yourself in the worshipping the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Suniti goes on to explain that by worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Dhruva's grandfather, who was Lord Brahma, great-grandfather who was Lord Brahma, got the qualities and the qualifications in order to create the entire material universe. And then she explains that his grandfather, Swayambhuva Manu, by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, achieved great success and became the ruler of the entire universes. So, and she also says that this type of success is not possible by worshipping demigods. So she advises him, therefore, to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in doing so, this is the only way that he can achieve success. Now a little later he goes to the forest and he meets Narada Muni. And Narada Muni, Prabhupada explains that this is the arrangement of Krishna. If we sincerely want to approach Krishna, then Krishna will arrange a spiritual master. And because Dhruva was very determined in wanting to worship him, so therefore he arranged that Narad Muni would come and speak to him. So Narad Muni, coming as the spiritual master, has the right to test his prospective disciple. So he did. Narad Muni said to Dhruva Maharaj, look, you're just a small boy. This type of worship is not possible for small boys. You should be at home, you should be playing, you should grow up, and when you grow up, then you can become detached. You can engage yourself in mystic meditation, and that way you can achieve me. And he gives them some further advice. He says, one should keep himself satisfied in any condition of life, whether distress or happiness, which is offered by the Supreme Will. A person who endures in this way is able to cross over the darkness of nescience very easily. Every man should act like this. When he meets a man more qualified than himself, he should be very pleased. When he meets someone less qualified than himself, he should be compassionate towards him. And when he meets someone equal to himself, he should make friendship with him. In this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world. So here Narad Muni is actually explaining both sides of today's verse. He's saying that by developing these qualities of treating other people properly, without envy, then we will also be unaffected by anything around us. So Prabhupada in this purport gives a very useful distinction between those who are envious and those who are devotees. He says, generally, when we find someone more qualified than ourselves, we become envious of him. When we find someone less qualified, we deride him. And when we find someone equal, we become very proud of ourselves. These are the causes of material tribulations. The great sage Narada therefore advised that a devotee should act perfectly. Instead of being envious of a more qualified man, one should be very happy to receive him. Instead of feeling oppressive to a less qualified man, one should be compassionate towards him, just to raise him to the proper standard. And when one meets an equal, instead of being proud of one's own activities before him, one should treat him as a friend. One should also have compassion for the people in general who are suffering due to forgetfulness of Krishna. These important functions will make one happy in this material world. So this starts to bring about our development of these good qualities. We engage in devotional service, and we will not want to harm anyone. We will become compassionate to others. We will want to glorify someone's achievements. We want to seek the association of someone higher than us, and we want to be compassionate to those other than us. So we'll come back and just discuss how it is that a devotee doesn't put anyone into difficulty. Because we know from the stories of our acharyas, sometimes it appears that the pure devotee is challenging somebody, is perhaps causing them some distress. We know Bhaktivinoda Thakur was very strict with those who were pretending to be Vishnu, those who were pretending to be incarnations. And sometimes, Bhaktisiddhanta was known as the Lion Guru because of the way that he was very strict on trying to bring in the correct sadhana, the correct process of devotional service, and kick out all the sahajiyism. And Prabhupada himself, he's come to the West to destroy impersonalism and voidism and mayavad. And he was not compromising in his criticism, calling people fools and rascals. So we have to see how this is the compassion of the devotee being exhibited. So someone gave an example in a class recently that if a child is sick, the mother wants to give some medicine, but the child doesn't like the medicine. So the child is saying, no, don't give me this medicine, don't give me this medicine. But does it make the mother cruel if she insists on giving the medicine to the child? She is acting for the child's good. She is actually being benevolent to the child. She's being compassionate to the child. But the child at the time doesn't think so. So in the same way, the true compassion of a devotee for the people in general is to try and correct their ignorance, to bring them to the point of understanding the constitutional position and the constitutional activity in service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So sometimes we have to try and break ignorance. But that does not mean we go around telling people that they're all in Maya. We have to be expert in finding the best way to help a person come to devotional service. For some people, they might need to be shaken out of their ignorance. But for most people, if you start telling them they're wrong, they will simply not listen to you. It's the nature of communication that we will listen to those who we have respect for. So in order for us to help somebody, we have to, by our qualities, give them a reason to respect us. And then we can share something with them and have a chance that they will listen. And we cannot rush and tell them the whole philosophy within 2 hours and expect them to understand it all and accept it all. So in this way, while it sometimes appears that a devotee is not always kind to everybody, actually the intention is always to be kind and share devotional service. Okay. Another verse which talks about this treating others is in the first canto, 18th chapter. It describes how the devotee, I'll find it. The verse says, self-controlled persons who are attached to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna can all of a sudden give up the material attachment, including the gross body and subtle mind, and attain the highest perfection of renounced order. by which non-violence and renunciation are consequential. So there's a step-by-step process being indicated here. One must be self-controlled and become attached to Krishna. And then one can give up material attachments. And the result of this, we become renounced and we also become non-violent. Another verse, 3 to 23. Okay, let's try and we'll talk. This second one also comes from the purport, how the devotee is not disturbed because of his engagement in Krishna consciousness. So we want to talk a little bit about how we develop these qualities. In the Bhagavatam it is said that we become a devotee, we develop good qualities. But that doesn't mean we have to do nothing and just wait for it to happen. It doesn't mean that automatically we won't offend anybody just because we put on tilak and a sari or in a dhoti. Number two. Okay, we talked about number 2. Number 3. Okay. We'll go from this one. So, in the story of where Jay and Vijay offended the Kumaras from forbidding them to enter Vaikuntha, we learn about the importance of developing good qualities. When Lord Vishnu comes to meet the Kumaras, he's actually saying that he takes upon himself the offense committed by his devotees. He says, a wrong act committed by a servant leads people in general to blame his master, just as a spot of white leprosy on any part of the body pollutes all of the skin. So here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada says, therefore it is our duty to develop these 26 qualities. A Vaishnava should therefore be fully qualified. As stated in the Bhagavatam, anyone who has become a Vaishnava has developed all the good qualities of the demigods. 26 are listed in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now, but the devotee has something to do. We don't just wait for the 26 qualities to develop. A devotee should always see that his Vaishnava qualities increase with the advancement of his Krishna consciousness. A devotee should always be blameless, because any offense by the devotee is a scar on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The devotee's duty is to be always conscious in his dealings with others, especially another devotee of the Lord. So Prabhupada doesn't expect us just to sit and wait for good qualities to appear. He expects us to study these qualities. In fact, one of the ISKCON devotees put out a book on the 26 qualities so that we can learn more about them and study them. It's available somewhere. And it's listed in Chaitanya Charitamrita and it's listed in the Bhagavatam also. Okay. Another place where the importance of qualities is described. Yes. Lord Kapila. Okay, let's go to this one, number 7. So, Lord Kapila gives instructions to his mother Devahuti on various things, including how the soul comes into the body. He also talks about pure devotional service. And at the end of that chapter on pure devotional service, he's describing the importance of these qualities. This verse he's talking to Mother Devahuti. The exalted devotee's mind becomes equipoised in sensory activities, and he is transcendental to what is agreeable and what is not agreeable. So this, Prabhupada explains, is the significance of advancement in transcendental knowledge and detachment from material attraction. Now, in the purport to this one, Prabhupada explains a little bit about how this works. So for this devotee, there is nothing agreeable or disagreeable, because he does not act in any way for his personal sense gratification. Whatever he does, whatever he thinks, is for the satisfaction of the personality of Godhead. So in this way he's not attached to his activities and he's not disturbed. Either in the material world or in the spiritual world, his equipoised mind is completely manifested. He can understand that in the material world there is nothing good. Everything is bad due to its being contaminated by material nature. The materialistic conclusions of good and bad, moral and immoral, are simply mental concoction and sentiment. There is nothing good in the material world. As a contrast, in the spiritual field, everything is absolutely good. There is no inebriety in the spiritual varieties. Because a devotee accepts everything in spiritual vision, he is equipoised. That is the symptom of his being elevated to the transcendental position. He automatically attains detachment, vairagya, jnana, knowledge, and then actual transcendental knowledge. The conclusion is that an advanced devotee dovetails himself in the transcendental qualities of the Lord, and that way becomes qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord. So these instructions that Lord Kapila has given to Devahuti, at the end of the chapter he says, instruction should be given to the faithful devotee, and these qualities are being described, who is respectful to the spiritual master, non-envious, friendly to all kinds of living entities, and eager to render service with faith and sincerity. The instruction should be imparted by the spiritual master to persons who have taken the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be more dear than anything, who are not envious of anyone, who are perfectly cleansed, and who have developed detachment for that which is outside the purview of Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport to this says, in these two verses, the qualities of a devotee are fully explained. One who has actually developed all the qualities listed in these verses is already elevated to the post of a devotee. If one has not developed all these qualities, he still has to fulfill the conditions in order to become a perfect devotee. Now this verse is also in the story of Prithu Maharaj. It's where Swayambhuva Manu explains to Prithu Maharaj. He says, the Lord is very satisfied with his devotee when the devotee greets other people with tolerance, mercy, friendship and equality. And he says here, it is the duty of and Prabhupada is saying in the purport, it is the duty of an advanced devotee in the second stage of devotional perfection to act in accordance with this verse. So this is Madhyam stage. The Kanishta Adhikari is simply interested in the deity. He doesn't see the devotees at all. He just goes to see the deity. We see them all the time in Krishna Balaram temple. The second stage is Madhyam, where a devotee has to cultivate devotion to the Supreme Lord, friendship with the devotees, compassion to the innocent people, and neglect of the envious people. So these qualities, Prabhupada is saying it's the duty of an advanced devotee to act in accordance with these qualities. Now, Prabhupada also goes on to explain how sometimes people are envious towards us and create trouble for us. But Prabhupada says that an advanced devotee should be tolerant, showing mercy for those and understanding that those who are in ignorance just aren't at that stage. So we can't change them like that. Okay. And so one more verse. No, we read that verse, did we? We read that verse. Okay. Yeah, one other verse which describes how one attains good qualities. So this is 4:20. This is also Prithu Maharaj, after he's spoken to Lord Vishnu. O respective personalities present here, I beg the blessings of all of you that I may perpetually carry on my crown the dust of the lotus feet of such Brahmanas and Vaishnavas until the end of my life. He who can carry such dust on his head is very soon relieved of all the reactions which arise from sinful life, and eventually he develops all good and desirable qualities. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that by taking the dust of the lotus feet, he quotes Prahlad Maharaj, Naisam matis tavad uru kramangri. If one takes the dust of the lotus feet of the pure devotees on one's head, which is a symbol that means we serve them, because if we approach somebody with their lotus feet, we want to offer service. So then one can be successful in life, otherwise not. And so this verse is stating that by this service, by taking the dust of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas and pure devotees, we will eventually come to develop the good qualities. Okay. So, just in summary, many good qualified qualities are listed. They're described here in the verses from yesterday, today, and through to the end of the chapter. Qualities are the result of engaging in devotional service. But we must also make some effort to develop these qualities. And when we develop these qualities of being, putting no one into difficulty, we need to use our intelligence and consider that for us being compassionate to everybody is trying to bring them to devotional service. And we must view in that position. A very good way of determining whether our actions will be acceptable to Krishna or not is simply to ask ourselves, will Krishna be pleased by what I am going to do? Because if we stop to ask that question, it will get us out of the mode of passion. The mode of passion acts by wanting us to do something immediately. And our mind will say, "This, yes, this is right." But to bring us to the mode of goodness, if we stop and ask ourselves a simple question, is Krishna going to be pleased by what I'm going to do? Then we act for Krishna. And of course, we will sometimes still upset people, we will sometimes still make mistakes and do the wrong thing. But if we act sincerely, then Krishna sees that and he will reward us for sincerity. Okay, so do we have some discussion, comments or questions from today's class? Hare Krishna.
26 qualities are there. Suppose you develop only 20 qualities and 6 qualities still you have lacking and you are trying to see that you get more 26 qualities. So does it comes in the pure devotion service or anything else?
Well, we have to be sincere. Now, it's described how the most important quality is the quality of being surrendered to Krishna. The other qualities will develop from that. It may take time to develop. If we self-reflect and look at these qualities, yes, if we are honest, we might find that we're lacking in some of these qualities. It's very good if we can be that honest. One way to try and develop good qualities is to find a devotee who exhibits these qualities we'd like to achieve. If we'll take it at a simple point, if we want to be humble, if we associate with those who are humble, we will develop that quality. We may not become poetic. That may not be the most important quality, but that will develop as we come into a spiritual body. Maybe in this material body we may not become poets. But we sincerely, we can learn, even being poetic, we can learn by listening. Because these books, the Bhagavad-Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, are full of poetic descriptions. And even the translations into English are very poetic in some places. And we can, just by simply learning, we will acquire that quality as well. So, my best advice is if there are particular qualities that you understand you're lacking, you can associate with people who have those qualities. Or you can seek guidance from the senior devotees who may be able to give you advice as well, some practical tips as well. Thank you.
The second point is that when we see a pure devotee, if we like to take his lotus feet dust and he doesn't allow us to take the dust of his lotus feet, so in that case what we should do?
Well, taking the dust of lotus feet is symbolic. You should want to serve him. So, there's an example. Who was it? I forget. Who was it in our Chaitanya Leela? No, since one of the acharyas who wanted to take shelter of a devotee, and he was refused. Lokanath Swami refused. Who he refused? Somebody. And so the devotee served him unknowingly, because he didn't even want to accept service, right? So he served him, because taking the dust of the lotus feet means service. So even unknowingly, he served him. And by consistently serving him, and by the purity of his intention in serving him, because we can serve somebody with the intention of making a big thing. Oh, I'm a great advanced devotee, how great service I am doing. And you'll find that sometimes people hanging around their spiritual master saying, Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev. And they're looking like, as soon as he comes, they run around all after him doing all the service. But when he goes away, then they just carry on with their own thing. So this is not taking the dust of the lotus feet. Dust of the lotus feet means service. It doesn't mean you run around trying to touch people's feet. That won't give you anything. It means we have to have an attitude of service and sincerely try to serve them. And in that way, the example there, Lokanath Swami, eventually he accepted this devotee as his disciple. And similarly, Gaurkishore Das Babaji did not accept Bhakti Siddhanta the first time he was approached, and even the second and third time. It took quite some persistence and showing sincerity in order for the service to be accepted. Like that. Thank you.
Suppose somebody blaming you for something and you don't reply, you will comment. So that is the quality of good quality.
So it's advised by our acharyas that if somebody is criticizing us, we don't make excuses, particularly if it's somebody senior. Because to make excuses is simply to defend our false ego. So yeah, it's a good quality. And sometimes we get blamed for things that we didn't do. But we should try to defend other Vaishnavas, and we should try to defend Krishna, but not ourselves. So we might find this very hard to live with. And we have to find at the place at which we're comfortable. But yeah, the ideal action is not to try and defend ourselves from criticism. Anyone else have comments or questions? Okay. Thank you very much for coming to the class. And Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavad-Gita ki jai.